CG this afternoon, the clash of the top two, the Eagles and Melbourne, and it lived up, Andy, to all expectations. I
think it did, Chris. G'day. I think it did live up to it for probably 3.5 quarters. It was the clash that everybody was hoping for. It was just probably 15 or 20 minutes within the 4-quarter stretch where West Coast's authority was stamped emphatically on the contest, and it was their midfield that did it yet again. Andrew Embley just having probably his best day ever on a footy ground at this level was absolutely superb, and Philip Matera doing everything that you want him to do when he does what he does. 6
goals, including 4 in the opening quarter. He was fantastic. Matthew Whelan got the job initially, but Philip Matera was on fire.
The first quarter, mate,
this was a sample of what he produced in that opening term.
Well, not only what he produced, but what West Coast produced halfway through the first quarter. In fact, late into the first quarter, Melbourne led by 16 points. In 107 seconds of playing time at the end of the first quarter, 107 seconds of playing time.
You did say that,
I just want people to register that time frame. West Coast kicked 4 goals. 4 goals in 1 minute and 47 seconds. That is, I've never seen...
How many seconds was it?
It was 107 seconds. Don't you find that, in all the footy you've watched them play, that is...
I mean...
I'm not being a bit overreactive, getting excited about that number,
No, you're not. It was a fantastic performance.
Just in case you didn't hear it, 107 seconds.
Here's a couple of bit of vision from the third term. Adamuzze. Now, Melbourne had built some momentum. You can see there the margin, 20-odd points, at a couple of crucial misses to Adamuzze, which is uncharacteristic because he was a star last week, kicked 5 against the Magpies on Monday, but just couldn't quite find the big opening, just to try and give Melbourne some momentum.
And totally clinging to any hopes they had of winning the game. Really, at that stage, you wouldn't want the ball in anybody's hands other than Adamuzze's, and you would think that 8 or 9 times out of 10 he'd kick both of those shots. He missed them both. It just goes to show that, you know what they say, 5 days in footy is a long time, Michael.
Well, here's one of the players you touched on, Andy. Andrew Embley, 35 possessions, 5 marks, and this, one of his 3 goals after he followed up. He got the ball initially from Daniel Kerr after he had run 50 metres to receive it on the southern wing. And great running and a great finish from Andrew Embley. He was an absolute star.
He's 6'4". I know he plays in the middle of the ground and he plays sort of often as a wingman. He plays up and down those sort of outside lines, but he's 6'4". It's almost impossible to believe that a bloke of that size and that stature can move the way he moves, but he slots beautifully into that star-studded midfield, offers something a little bit different from all of the others. As you said, 35 touches. He was probably a career best performance by him today.
It was indeed. Well, one of the other stars for the West Coast Eagles was Big Dean Cox. He was absolutely fantastic. His ruck work was exquisite, but what about his finishing, kicking to the leading forwards, this time to Philip Matera?
He said after the game in an interview on radio that he has this year been able to step up into the midfield running brigade over pre-season. The amount of times he found himself forward of the ball and became a sort of link man receiver, you can understand the sort of motive he's been able to create within himself. His use of the ball today was spectacular. He plays better footy when Michael Gardner's not in the side.
Yeah.
It's amazing the way he steps up.
Absolutely. Well, interesting, just the West Coast, they've lost just the one game. Have a look at this, 23 seconds on the clock. Drew Banfield running down the electrifying Aaron Davey.
How good is that? He's 30. He's over 30 now, Ben.
I mean, the game's pretty much done. As I said, just 20 seconds to go. Not that the players were necessarily aware of that.
But that's reason enough for Banfield not to chase, because the game's over. They've got the game iced. There's 20 seconds left. He's 31 or 30. I mean, he doesn't need to be doing that anymore. He's proven everything he needs to prove, but that just goes to show how totally switched on this football team is at the moment. Well,
let's turn our attention to the Telstra Dome tonight, and what a smashing. Adelaide in devastating form, 20 goals, 12 to the Tigers, 9-8. So the margin 70 points in favour of the Crows. And gee, Welsh was an absolute standout. He kicked 8 goals and Perry kicked 5. It was certainly a fantastic performance. And Adelaide, they're consolidated their position in the top 4 and can almost challenge for a top 2 position.
Well, they're now 10% better off than Melbourne at the moment, a game behind them, sitting in 3rd position as we speak right now with Geelong behind them. You would think that Geelong's going to struggle to beat Brisbane, so Adelaide could be eyeing top 2 at the end of this weekend's footy, which of course finishes next weekend, but they are superseding all pre-season expectations at the moment.
Going extremely well. Well, let's now cross to the Telstra Dome and cross to the man who's there, witnessed the big game tonight. It's a very good evening to Tim Lane. And Tim, we mentioned a great performance from the Crows, but what are the Tigers? They've now lost 4 in a row.
They have. The horrors, the mid-season horrors have set in again, Michael, and it must bring fear and foreboding to the hearts of Richmond supporters. Terry Wallace dismissive during the week of the June-July stats that have been shown up recently. Richmond, though, seem to be a team capable of really losing their confidence, and their build-ups are laborious. They are accident-prone, and perhaps because of just a lack of a range of targets beyond Matthew Richardson, they don't have the confidence to just deliver the ball in a cohesive way into their attacking 50, and they came unstuck many times tonight. Wasn't good to watch, and they were never a match for the Crows.
Tim, so much to like about Adelaide's performance. It's almost wrong of us to focus on a potential negative, but we heard in the call your thoughts on the Brett Burton hit on Chris Hyde, and I know how you feel about that. Should he be in massive strife this week?
Well, I'm not sure whether it's massive strife, but certainly it has to be scrutinised, and I would be surprised if the match review committee didn't assess that as something that warranted a suspension. He ran past the ball, although it could be argued that Hyde could reasonably be expecting the contact, and that's, of course, one of the clauses that is written into the law relating to charging. There's another matter too, of course, that Hyde suffered a shocking knock in a match against St Kilda in that collision of heads with Matt Maguire earlier in the season. That shouldn't come into play either, because he and his club have seen fit to play him. But the relevant factor is that his head was on the way down over the ball, and Burton collided with his head. Now, as far as I'm concerned, all this debate about the bump being dead is bunk. The fact is that a player is entitled to bump another player if he can reasonably expect that contact, but the onus is on him to make sure that he doesn't make high contact. And in this case, Burton clearly did. And
doesn't the bloke who's, and I put this to both you, Tim, and you, Chris, so you played the game, shouldn't the onus on the bloke who's going to lay the hit be, A, not to hit the bloke in the head, but B, make sure that the bloke who's going to hit has actually got the ball in his hand?
Well, I repeat, the law does refer to whether or not the player could reasonably expect the contact. I think Hyde could reasonably have expected to be contacted in that circumstance, but he was entitled to expect that he could put his head over the ball without the head being knocked off or being hit and hit hard. And in this case, Burton took the risk. He ran at him to lay a bump, and the fact was there was always a chance that Hyde's head was going to be down over the ball. It wasn't far down, but and in fact I got the impression that maybe because of the you know, the unconscious impact of the collision with Maguire some weeks ago, that Hyde didn't put it as low as under normal circumstances he might have done.
Yeah.
No, it's very interesting. The interesting thing for me was that it wasn't a shepherd, because there were the only two in the contest, and he just ran straight over the football and took the player out, and that. It was a bit weak, to be honest.
Well, you just feel like, as a casual observer, or not a casual, as a passionate lover of the game, you'd like to think that the ball would forever be the object of all players. And when you see a bloke run past the footy, it's really similar to the Byron Pickett one in some respects, not in the way that the other player was contacted, because on that case, Begley...
Well, here's a look at the Pickett incident. Tim, we're just watching Pickett on James Begley in the pre-season, and again, Pickett ran over the football straight at the man. The only difference is, I reckon, that Begley's head was a lot lower over the football than Hyde's, but the same principle applies, is a player ran past the football, which was there to be picked up, to take the player out.
Well, in both cases, Tim, had the player initiating the contact actually attacked the footy, neither Begley nor Hyde would have been hurt.
That's correct, and when you take into consideration the penalty that was dished out to Byron Pickett, I can't see how the penalty for incidents such as this one tonight, and there have been others during the season, could be set at other than quite a serious level. But then again, some of the results that have emerged in recent weeks, particularly from the tribunal, have seemed to be totally inconsistent with that earlier penalty set for Byron Pickett, and I have to say, have left me scratching my head.
Absolutely. Interesting discussion, Tim. Thanks for joining us. Look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks as ever, Chriso. And could Andrew just tell me again how many seconds it took West Coast to kick those goals late in the first quarter?
107, Tim.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Tim Lane joining us from the Telstra Dome. 107 seconds, 4 goals for the West Coast Eagles. Well, talking of highlights, it's time now for our Saturday specials.
Look forward to it.
And we start at the MCG. Oh, some magic, some brilliance, some pace from Aaron Davey.
Chance for the electrifying Davey. He could run onto this, cutting across his glass. Davey burns him off, goes for home and kicks a goal!
Another bleak night for the Blues, but how desperate was this defence from Glenn Bowyer on 2 occasions?
Oh, great play by Bowyer over the top. Kicked off the ground also by Murphy.
A big tackle from Ryan Ferguson.
Dropped the football. Edwards. Ferguson ferocious. Great front-on tackle. This could be inspirational for the D's.
We saw some of the bad from the Tigers early. This some of the good from Mark Coughlin.
Run on here and have a kick and goal. He does, and he slots it home.
He is.
Some great crumbing work by Matthew Lappin.
Front and square, did so perfectly. From just inside 50. That is a terrific finish.
Stay with us here. This was just brilliant footy. Daniel Kerr, the great mark, the break of 2 tackles. And then it's just a magnificent stream of footy from one end to the other. The quality of this West Coast side speaks louder when you watch it than any words a human being can utter.
Lynch on the half volley in front of Nicholson. Gives it back to Emily. Good running. This will finish it off for a lovely goal. Across the face of goal. No. Emily signals. He's got it.
A big mark from Matthew Richardson at the Dome.
Richardson's got to beat 3. Oh, yes. Magnificent mark by Pete Pitcho.
Matthew Robbins can kick a spectacular goal. This one of his very best.
Trying to work to the front position. Robbins read it off the bounce, hooks around off the left and kicks a sensational goal.
Some brilliance from Cameron Bruce.
That run. Chip kick inside 50. Good defensive fist from Staker. Got it away from Holland. Ball back to Holland. Bruce sells a dummy. Steps around glass. Measures it. Drills it.
This kid's going to play a lot of good football for this footy club for a lot of years. Ryan Griffin, a very, very high-quality goal.
Can run to the 50. Ryan Griffin backs himself, backs his ability and kicks a beauty.
Goes
There you go.
They've got a couple of handy kids, haven't they? Huh?
No doubt about that. We'll catch up with all the highlights from Marara Oval later in the show. Big Western Bulldogs win. As we go to the break, Adam Cooney, the sweatbands, and also the Bulldog players cooling under the fan.
For one of these housemates, their once-in-a-lifetime Big Brother journey will end on Sunday.
It's time to go! Rachel, Christy, Geneva. It's an all-girl cast up for eviction. You decide who will go. Join Gretel for an explosive live eviction show from 7 o'clock Sunday.
Then, from 7 o'clock Monday, Big Brother's live nomination show is getting up close and personal.
Sookie and moody, self-righteous and arrogant.
Big Brother, from 7 o'clock Sunday and Monday on 10.
Call 132378 now.
Want to buy a bedroom suite? Half price? Haggle, 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 haggle. Want to buy a bed? Half price? Haggle, haggle. Want to buy a mattress? Half price? Haggle, haggle. Want to buy a rug? Half price? Haggle, 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 haggle. I dare you. If you want to buy stuff half price this weekend, you'll have to haggle. Haggle! Haggle!
Experience the new BMW 3 Series, the driving force.
It could be a part or a spare. It might be just one or a pair. A dozen, a score. There's one thing for sure. You'll never know what you'll find there.
Paramount Browns, all kinds of stuff new and second-hand, and now open Saturdays till 4 p.m.
You'll find it in kilos and pounds. You'll find it on heaps and on mounds, in gallons and litres, in yards and in metres. You'll find it at Paramount Browns.
Cash for scrap, 99 Cavan Road, Cavan.
You'll find it at Paramount Browns.
They look beautiful, mate. Fantastic.
Trading Post, 50 fantastic finds competition. 50 amazing prizes hidden in the paper, including a brand new BMW. Grab a copy, find the ads each week until June 22 and you could win. Keep it to yourself.
Quentin Lynch at the MCG this afternoon, and little boot there. Any trouble? Any trouble for him, Andy?
I wouldn't have thought so, Michael. No, just a reflex reaction, I would have thought. There's no question about that, is there? You've been out there in the heat of battle. You're very good off air.
You wanted to put it in.
Oh, don't. You are the master of off-air hanging blokes and then coming on air and with those big pearly whites of yours.
You are kidding yourself.
Is he in trouble for that or not?
Well, I ask you the question.
Well, you're asked to go on the tribunal this year. You declined because you thought you were going to be too harsh.
That'd be a bit of fun.
Imagine you on that.
No, let's go to the MCG this afternoon. A big game, 1v2. The Eagles coming out on top by 15 points. Let's hear from John Worsfold and the Melbourne coach, Neil Danaher.
Terrific game by the players today. You know, it was a big challenge, and it was certainly one we were looking forward to. And top of the table clashes don't come around too often, and our players were very keen to embrace, you know, that opportunity to play in that sort of game, especially on this ground. So, you know, it was a good win.
Their run out of their back line was terrific. But it had a lot to do with the fact that we weren't kicking the ball very well today. I think we had only 2 marks till half-time, going inside 50. And that's an area we think we are pretty good at. I thought Travis played a terrific game, but there was opportunities where he was outside 50 and usually pins those. And we'll find ourselves kicking to the opposition and then chasing them today. So we're just off our game in certain areas.
It seems they went some way towards convincing people that weren't yet convinced today, the West Coast Eagles. Were you one that were waiting to see them produce their best footy at the MCG?
Yeah, I picked Melbourne, and they proved beyond doubt that they're the top side, obviously, but they really played an exciting brand of football today.
12-1. We should be talking about this West Coast side as if they're one of the... No, you're never one of the great sides of football history until you start winning some premierships, but 12-1 is
the phenomenal performance.
It is the early season record of a super team, and yet I still feel like there's a bit of some people just holding back their enthusiasm for them at this stage. Are you sensing
because
that?
I think there's so many no-namers there, particularly defence, blokes like Jones and Hunter, who haven't got household names, particularly in Melbourne, that are very, very good players, but are not recognised as such.
Aren't they playing like a team that's coached by the bloke who coaches them? Aren't they playing like a side who's got John Worsfold just sort of coursing through every single player on that list? Blokes who they're almost reluctant not to do the Worsfold type things for fear of copying that sort of Worsfold type retribution if they don't. They're an amazing footy team.
Yes, they're going extremely well. We'll take a break on the 5th quarter, and as we leave you to the break,
this was horrible.
This incident involving Chris Bryan, and it looked as though, as we watched it live, Andy, earlier tonight, it looked as though he had broken his neck. Oh.
That situation there, and Brian's probably hurt himself pretty heavily.
8:40 Sunday. After 9 years and over 200 shows, Raymond has its final episode ever.
They want to take a piece of my Raymond away.
A 90-minute spectacular on 10. The television event that was this year's most watched show in the US.
I knew one day this would happen.
It's not just a finale, it's a farewell.
What is it? What, Raymond?
What's happening?
The Raymond special 90-minute finale. 8:40 Sunday on 10.
Classic timber furniture are now on sale, and they've taken 10 to 50% off store-wide. Save on dining, sofas and Chinese antiques. 10 to 50% off everything at Classic Timber Furniture.
They look beautiful, mate. Fantastic.
Trading Post. 50 fantastic finds competition. 50 amazing prizes hidden in the paper, including a brand new BMW. Grab a copy. Find the ads each week until June 22 and you could win. Keep it to yourself.
Only one glazier has achieved quality assurance endorsement. My Glazier. So for 24-hour glass replacement, assistance with your insurance claim and quality service by the book, My Glazier is your glazier.
The massive rug sale at the showgrounds. You saw the ads? It was a disaster.
With the cooperation of their financiers, Goodyear Rugs has taken control of everything they own. Forget sale prices, forget their prices. This weekend, we'll sacrifice the lot.
$1,400, sacrifice for $250, $659, $195, $99, $580, $120 from $69.
Goodyear Rugs this weekend. We don't have to say 90% off. The prices are just ridiculous.
Vodafone is giving you the chance to win a hot lap with Formula One World Champion Michael Schumacher at the Ferrari headquarters in Italy. Be watching RPM for details on how to enter this incredible money can't buy opportunity and enjoy the ride of your life, thanks to Vodafone.
Hello, my name's Uniformly. I'll be doing the same old thing with you this evening. Hearing Nothing News, where you'll find everything to be unvaried, tiresome and repetitious. Our Totally Predictables board, more of the same. Now the chef's unspecial tonight is the grilled tedium, drowsed in a yawning glaze. Doesn't that sound dull?
Yeah.
Just like every other place. Huh.
Try somewhere different. North, Sky City's newest restaurant is now open.
Hawks fans exasperated, but spare a thought for our statistician. He's exhausted. Hodge knocks it out. Franco to Weaver. Now, 16 consecutive goals to Port Adelaide. Here's Cassisi, the most in VFL AFL history. 16 consecutive goals. Ever in the history of humans. What about that 16 consecutive goals?
Yeah,
that's
stat of the year.
Stat of the year.
Stat of the year.
Well, don't want to rain on the parade of the statistician, and I can imagine they would have been pretty excited at the time, but we found a couple of examples where the 16 consecutive unanswered goals was actually betted. 19 by 23 and by 23. They're the dates, 1990, 1993 and 1899, and you can see by the scores that the statistics stand up when you analyse them. 23-24 to 0-1. That would indicate that Geelong kicked 23 consecutive unanswered goals in that particular game.
That's what you spent your entire day doing. You heard it last night.
That is the handiwork. No, that's the handiwork of Josh Kay. He is the preeminent statistical guru in all things footy. The AFL actually ring him and make sure that they've got things right. Well, that's not actually true, but they should.
It's all over at Marara Oval, and the Western Bulldogs in convincing fashion getting over the top of the Blues to the tune of 46 points.
It's a good win, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a great win, and one of the highlights, though, for the Blues, Brendan Favola with 5 goals. Scott West amongst the possessions again, outstanding.
And spent some time on the bench just to rest him up, the old boy. He's going beautifully. 6 best and fairest he's won. He looks like he may as well chalk in 7.
Well, this guy made our Saturday specials, Ryan Griffin. He was fantastic, but it was just one of many goals that the Bulldogs were able to kick almost unpressured from around the 50.
Just as well the super goals rule wasn't in place tonight, because the scoreboard would have been horrible from Carlton's perspective. They were pinging them from everywhere tonight. It was like a 3-point shootout for the Western Bulldogs tonight. They have got some highly skilled blokes, and when they're on and they can get balanced up and find space, aren't they exciting to watch? They were super tonight, some of those blokes.
Absolutely incredible. There's a good long goal from Nathan Eagleton, and they really did show all their class. Eagleton again, and right across the board, their running game really just had Carlton in all sorts of trouble.
Their converting from range was just outstanding. It was probably as good as you've seen in recent times. Their capacity to kick goals from that far out tonight, they were outstanding.
Now, Carlton just didn't offer any resistance early on, and
this was horrible late.
We picked this from Matthew Lappin. It was a shocking kick, but the point that we wanted to make was the lack of support for Matthew Lappin.
It's his 150th game for the club. He's been there through the horrible times. It's his milestone game. He knows he's made of blue, and only one bloke comes over and actually says to him, that's okay, and that's a guy that's relatively new to the club, Corey McGrath. You would have thought that at a time like that, some of the senior blokes of the footy club might have got down to him, realised the fact, taken themselves out of their own little world of misery and despair at the moment, and realised that Matty Lappin's going through a horrible little moment in his milestone game, and actually gone down and supported him. But there was nothing at all from most of them tonight. Corey McGrath, as we said, the only one. That was pretty disappointing. Well,
they're certainly looking forward to the break. They've got the break now, so let's hope we see a different Carlton coming up in round 14. We've got the ladder coming up after the break, but as we go to the break, the Blues also getting cool in the cool room as they were addressed by Dennis Pagan at quarter time.
A violinist cut down in her prime.
I take it she didn't slip in the shower.
$1 million clue missing.
What's a Del Jesu? Her violin. It's a Del Jesu.
An unusual case on Law and Order. 8:40 Monday on 10.
The Rowan Jarman half-yearly clearance is on. Rowan Jarman are clearing stocks. Massive savings on a huge range. Up to 60% off footwear. Up to 60% off clothing. Up to 60% off sports and fitness equipment. The Rowan Jarman half-yearly clearance on now. Don't miss it.
Bedding emergency! Factory reports bedding overstock.
The bedding factories are doing it again.
Do what? More stock. Where are we going to put it?
Make it the biggest bedding sale ever.
It's a bedding emergency. We have to dump over 2,000 beds up to half price. Over 2,000 Sleepmaker, King Cole, Sleep Haven, Slumbercare and Adriatic beds are up for grabs.
Double beds, $99. Kids bunks from $189.
Futons, $159.
Mattresses, $23.
Luxurious ensemble, save a whopping 50%.
Wish you could hold on to that freshly coloured look you love? You can, with new Nice and Easy. Its Colour Seal technology helps lock in that just coloured look for up to 6 weeks. Forget about colour that fades. Now your colour keeps looking fresh. So don't ask where did it go. Seal in that freshly coloured glow for up to 6 weeks of non-stop colour. It's only in Nice and Easy, and it's the new way to keep your colour wonderful.
Bounce into my place, Clark Rubber. And we'll make your family a Clark Rubber family with a huge choice of great-looking, versatile foam furniture and foam mattresses of all sizes. There's thousands of products for you and your home. And of course, we cut foam to all shapes and sizes. And if it's made of rubber, we've got it. It's great to know the team that own the store are there to give you the best in service, solutions and satisfaction. Call 13 80 90. Cool, Clarky.
The Rowan Jarman half-yearly clearance is on. Rowan Jarman are clearing stocks. Massive savings on a huge range. Up to 60% off footwear. Up to 60% off clothing. Up to 60% off sports and fitness equipment. The Rowan Jarman half-yearly clearance. On now. Don't miss it.
You have been warned. You've been told not to watch. You've been told not to enjoy it. Oh, but you know you can't help it. I'm just a sex machine. Big Brother Uncut. 9:40 Monday on 10.
Had been reasonable. Today was just a breakdown of, I think, of confidence in the way that we played the game, and we just had no run and flow in our game. It was very, very stationary. No one prepared to take a risk, and you know, it was right back to, you know, some of the, you know, the worst football that I've sort of seen the team play. As I sort of said to the guys, I don't think I've seen you know, the side play any worse since I've been there, and you know, including sort of practice games and the lot. So.
He summed it up pretty well, Terry Wallace, didn't he? Because confidence is a key thing. A big job for him in these last 9 weeks to get that confidence level up.
Well, they've gone from 7-2 to 7-6, as you can see now on the ladder, and it's a disappointing slide for a side that did dare to dream. They dared to dream the dream a month ago.
And Port Adelaide also sneaking into the 8. Of course, still a few games to go in round 13, but Port Adelaide, ominous signs there.
And St Kilda and the Brisbane Lions. I mean, fantastic result by the Western Bulldogs tonight. Let's take nothing away from them. They've kept their finals hopes alive. They've got a tough draw to come, but the Brisbane Lions and St Kilda are the two from outside that are going to start really knocking on that door pretty hard now.
Now, some sensible umpiring here at Marara tonight. There's Mark Fraser with a bounce, a shocking bounce. But here, the decision made to throw it up, and it's great to see because he is a very good umpire.
He makes good calls.
Absolutely.
Right.
Common sense, and the decision made there to throw the ball up, and it's great to see it because we don't want to lose umpires to the game that they don't have that bouncing skill.
And we don't want other blokes thinking about coming into umpiring feeling like they're going to be put under that sort of scrutiny and embarrassment if they can't get it right. So well done, Mark Fraser, and let's hope that they can use that ploy, you know, at any time down the track.
Absolutely. Well, coming up next week on the 5th quarter, there's only the 2 games next weekend. Of course, the big clash, the Saints and the Bombers, and Sydney and Collingwood up at Telstra Stadium. But we've got a special preview. Well, review first. Preview special. With Rob Walls and Tim Lane.
Magnificent.
So we're looking forward to that. It should be a lot of fun.
Look at the season that's been and look at what might lay ahead. Any chance of Lee Diffie popping up next week or not?
I'm sure he'll be around.
The Diffmaster involved somewhere.
There'll be another round of the VH.
Beautiful.
For sure.
You'd think so.
See you next week on the 5th quarter.
Well, next year, still you are the only.
For 60 years, Bedford has given a helping hand to thousands of South Australians with a disability. Today, we help people lead independent lives with housing for over 100 people, achieving over 300 TAFE qualifications and providing more than 650 jobs. Here's to another 60 years keeping the flame burning for South Australians with a disability. Help us by calling the donation hotline today.
We really can't sleep tonight, Dad.
Add a little hope. Add a little something. Your donation to St Vincent de Paul can help change a life today. Please, call now. 13 18 12.